Hi everyone, I am Lin Wei from Honors Collegium 136. Today I will talk about the public arts as various conversations from the artists towards awards. To start our lecture, I would like to talk about the general structure. I will start with my thesis regarding public arts about how it paves the way towards social change. Next, I will introduce public arts about its definition, forms of public arts, its use and influence. We will reach a conclusion of public arts, which leads to the discussion question of this week. Starting with my thesis. Public arts aims for public discourse reflecting various purposes, including social activism, community empowerment, liberation from suppression, etc. I will elaborate them further. If we want to know more about public arts, we have to know what public art is. From Wikipedia, the definition of public arts is in any media whose form, function, and meaning are created for the general public through a public process. It is a specific arts genre with its own professional and critical discourse. The key idea I would like you guys to get from this definition is that public arts is designed to attract the attention of the public, using the arts as a discourse. The highlighted keywords will be discussed further, and on the bottom, we can see some interesting public arts from LA. From here, we can have a general impression of the forms of public arts. It can be murals, sculpture, and lights. All the public arts reflects a sense of creativity and beauty. However, public art is not limited in its forms or themes. It does not need to be something beautiful or magnificent. It does not have to be very creative. It is not limited in only murals and sculptures. The pictures above listed several unique forms of public arts, including sky-type messages, billboards, public dances, urban graffiti, which is like the illegal form of murals, and installation, and music performances. But why is that? Is everything showing on the public can be defined as public art? The answer to this question is the second keyword, discourse. Public arts needs to deliver a message that initiates a discourse. These discourses have various purposes. They can drive a social motion based on injustice and lead to a movement. They also raise awareness of a controversial issue. They can be used for community empowerment. They also advocate for certain action. After introducing the basics of public arts, I would like to take you to a tour of specific examples so my previous statements can make more sense. On the right are some of the public artists showing their faces in the readings. While their artwork is shown to the public, they themselves are not. Therefore, I put their pictures here for representation. They are only a small portion of all public artists, and sometimes the public arts is created by the public. In order to discuss the cases, I would like to categorize them into different themes, although they overlap with multiple themes most of the time. Each theme is described by a quote and provided with examples. Because I am standing on the shoulders of giants, I want to show how my arguments originate from these brilliant artists. The first quote I will start with is from Pablo Picasso. Art is a weapon. This is even more prominent for public arts because of the attention raised for the controversial issues. There are three prominent examples I would like to discuss here. From Patrice Cullors in 2020, she used sky-type messages, care not cages, to initiate a conversation regarding immigration. I personally think this is a very smart play because the form of this art couples so well with the issue it addresses. For immigrants undergoing injustice and caged to see a message on the sky, it is such a motivating message from them to fight for freedom. The second picture is from Stefan Bragman in 2020 with the name Truth Lie. Stefan uses his artwork to stress that the distinction between truth and lie have eroded, which has a strong political symbolism behind its billboard since it's built in the US-Mexico borderline. The third picture shows a billboard designed by artist Jenny Hauser. She is advocating for certain action, voting throughout different billboards she designed. The second quote is from Patrice Cullors, who is known as one of the people who started the Black Lives Matter movement. She said, "Every one of our peoples has used arts as part of liberation struggles." Here, she described public arts as a way of liberation. What can we get from this quote? Some artists may have been through some suppression and struggles, and then they use their artistic skills to break the boundary that was enforced on them before. They transform their trauma into inspiration. Shown on the top left is an urban graffiti in Buenos Aires, which says, "No to the debt payment." I personally interpret this as a way to liberate from the bondage of unfair rent payments and the call to action. The interesting conflict is that urban graffiti is known as illegal for defacing, which causes £5,000 of fine in Britain and even possible persecution for the artist. However, because of the strong message urban graffiti tries to deliver, urban graffiti gets decriminalized for its social activism and its communal value. The second public art is created by the public. In Hong Kong, to protest for the Extradition Act, people from Hong Kong use post-it notes on the courthouse in order to demonstrate the will of the people instead of the will of the authority. As the Extradition Act suppresses the will, the post-it notes are their approach of liberation. The third one is from Stephanie Montgomery, a woman who was sexually assaulted while the police force cannot give her any form of justice. Turning her anger into power, she drew this billboard that will inspire any woman like her to seek justice. The third quote is from Andy Golub. Many people think that performance arts, like body painting, is all about getting attention, but it's really about bringing people together. This highlights an important aspect of public arts as bringing people together, so the public arts offers community empowerment and diversity. The first picture is from the Times Square and is also a pandemic art. After the quarantine with fewer people around the Times Square, artists use this as an opportunity to bring people together. Even though people are isolated, we are still somehow connected by the love and support from the public arts. From here, we can see doing good and doing well means doing better. The second picture is the electric light, which is one of my favorite public arts among all readings. The first dance I learned in America is Cupid Shuffle, so I can see how this dance brings people together as a community dance where everybody can join and make a group dance. So this is an opportunity to share the moment and also support their actions. The third picture is some outside portraits of people underrepresented who lives in this small town, Newman. According to the artist Robert Hancock, people needed to open their eyes and see what a beautiful, diverse place we live in. This opens a dialogue and a window to unveil the diversity within the community. In this picture, the Muslim sisters has lived for 6 years before being represented as a part of the community. We can see how public arts as a reflection of the community here. For this quote by Judy Barker, who envisioned a long narrative of another's history of California, one which included ethnic peoples, women, and minorities who are so invisible in conventional textbook accounts. I would like to stress how public arts incorporates historical and cultural context that reflects the community. Judy Barker started a project about the Great Wall of Los Angeles, which contains at least 50 murals. Murals is one of the forms of public arts that has historical context. The Great Wall of Los Angeles incorporates rich history of Mexican Americans starting early as 1930s to express the social ideals of the Mexican Revolution. With the rich context, the murals create a sense of belonging for people who are underrepresented because they help create this community. Public art also incorporates cultural context. After the incident of George Floyd, murals of Floyd spread the country as a form of protest. the murals of George Floyd is a response and an open discourse. It represents the deep sorrow and injustice inhabited in the system for a long time. This reflects a cultural context of the community. However, what I want to address that is that sometimes the open discourse can result in some controversial arguments. For example, this billboard is not shown in some places because they think it's really violent. And therefore, we want to remember what's happened through public arts so we can make a change. From this quote by Eli Kaplan, we may hear about the George Floyds, the Breonna Taylors, but for each of those, there are hundreds and hundreds of other names that get lost. This is a way to acknowledge them. Memories fade, but we want to remember. Our choices will have an impact no matter how small the impact is. Before we go to the case study, I would like to state that the following content may make you feel frustrating and upset, and I don't want that to happen. Instead of feeling the sorrow of the past, I want you to take this sadness into the power to move forward. We are in this together. The top picture is from Hollywood Boulevard by Making All Black Lives Matter Permanently. This is a public discourse, and we want to remember this idea, so we make it permanent on a road. The second picture is on the top right is a special public arts, a projection from the Grace Cathedral in San Francisco to commemorate George Floyd. Because of the looting under the curfew, Grace Cathedral rings its bell for 8 minutes and 46 seconds as another way to commemorate the period of time when the police officer had his knee on George Floyd. The last group of pictures correspond to the previous quotes. This public art is made of fabric woven into fencing walls. This fence is 2.2 miles long, containing more than 100 individuals, and not just the names that received more attention. I think people usually have this bias, like if someone was wrongfully killed, and you will always go to the news, so we have like several incidents. However, that's not the case. It's like it takes many cases of injustice like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor's to actually reach one of them to get to the news and receive public attention. So I think this Silver Lake Memorial help us to realize that there are many people behind the Black Lives Movement and they are the victims. So now we reached our conclusions. Generally, public arts serve to deliver a message, and mostly a strong one. So they open a public discourse. Public arts usually reflects social injustice and protest aesthetically. Public arts is an important approach for social change, but it always has disagreements and even conflicts that may stagger the ideas from spreading. Public arts is creative and imaginative. As long as it serves its function, it is limitless in its forms. Take BLMs as an example. Various forms of public arts from different places all contribute to driving this social movement. Also, public arts is a mirror reflection of one community that consists of people. Therefore, public arts reflects a society through its rich historical and cultural context. Because it is historically based, public arts will reflect a hot topic of the current time, such as voting and COVID-19. Because public arts is culturally based, it stresses important and controversial issues including censorship, racism, sexual assault, police misconduct, and immigration issues. As time evolves, the meaning of public art also evolves and enriches with public history. Thus, our community culture and the collective memory also evolve. And after conclusion, we reach our discussion questions for this week. So my first question is, how does a piece of public arts manage to deliver one particular message and engage with others in the community? My second question is, why is public arts not limited in a single form? My third question is, wherever there are people, there are conflicts. Do you think a piece of public arts with controversial ideas will benefit or harm the community? Explain your reasons. So here's a bibliography for making these slides. And in the end, I really want to thank you guys for offering me with all these brilliant ideas. This is a great class and I cannot do it without you guys. I feel so fortunate and I can carry on with a part of you guys' ideas. Thank you for listening to this lecture.